Esra Kutlu. Look, I said the name right.
Yeah, you did.
Yes. Actually, it's the second time I'm saying it, so I got time to practice. So tell me your story. Take me from the beginning.
Sure. I was born in Ankara, Turkey, but when I was 4, we moved to Saudi Arabia. So I grew up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and I was there until I was 15. I went to an American school, and I don't know, like, if you know, like, this third culture kid thing where everyone is from different countries, but we're all speaking English and we're kind of Americanized. But when I was 15, my parents made the decision to move us back to Istanbul because in Saudi, if you're not a Saudi citizen, you cannot attend a university. So,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh.
So we had to make this tough decision to, like, what do we do? A lot of my friends went to the US and I unfortunately went to Istanbul. I'm saying unfortunately because when I got there, it was just a huge culture shock for me. Turkish culture is very homogeneous, everyone is just the same standard. And there was
More traditional in that sense.
a lot more traditional, like guys and girls didn't really hang out unless they were dating. Whereas I came from a culture where we had like sleepovers and it was okay. So it was that and the fact that I didn't speak Turkish very well.
I was just about to ask, yeah.
I always, I loved language, reading, writing, but suddenly moving back there and my first year I failed Turkish. I got a 0. I don't know how that's possible, but the words were so long in Turkish, it was a different grammar, whatever. That was very difficult, but then, over time I picked up on it.
Yeah. Was the move traumatic for you also?
Yeah, the move was very traumatic. I don't think you notice when you're a kid. I was just like, I just hit 13, 14. I don't remember how old I was. You kind of want to get away from the people. And in that moment, I was like, yes, we're moving somewhere else. I never have to see these people again. But I grew up with those people. And, in Saudi, you live in these compounds. So I grew up with living next door to my best friends. And anyway, so the sudden change and the sudden culture shock, it was very difficult for me to kind of find my place. And I didn't have a lot of friends, and I was failing things a lot. But yeah, so that was it, and I never went back.
You never went back to Saudi?
No, I went once. Sorry, a year later, I think my dad took us once because back then you didn't have tourist visas, and this was 2000, and that was also weird because I went back and everything had changed. The people that I thought were my friends were kind of not my friends anymore, and it was just different. And so that was also very traumatic.
Yeah.
I felt like I lost all my friends, or they had changed, and they weren't excited to see me. So yeah, I think that throughout my life has been an issue for me, is like friendship and finding your place, because of that probably. So yeah, when I moved to Istanbul, high school, uni, I didn't have a lot of friends. I kind of kept to myself and just, I thought if I study and get a good job and finally I can be happy again or leave this country.
I get all these things, I still feel the same.
Yeah.
Why?
Like, I want to finish school. I want to get out of high school. I went to uni, and the uni I wanted to go to the US, but my dad, he couldn't send me. So I had to go in Turkey, and I didn't like that. But the university I went to was like, people were very intelligent, smart, but also very like chic and like snobby, like all at once, kind of. It was everything. Maybe we should edit that out. But so there again, I didn't really find my people, but I used to take notes. It was in English, the education. So I would take notes on my laptop and get really good grades. And that's kind of how I pulled through. I studied psychology, and I was so busy trying to keep busy. I accidentally double majored.
Let's not feel.
And I had to do like
the shadow lurking in the background.
Yeah.
Let's get another degree.
I accidentally got another degree.
I'm of course I'm just being like I'm just taking the piss.
No, but it's true. It was a very like lonely time in my life. I have a 40-minute recording of me trying to like paint to Nora Jones album, and it was the most. Now I watched it back like recently. I was like, this is sad. Like this
Well,
girl is like that. That was a sad recording. I had no friends.
I'm not laughing at you. It's just
No, it's okay. The first birthday party I had in high school, I invited everyone in my class, and everyone said they'd come, and no one showed up.
no.
So I hate my birthdays,
Oh
and
my
that's
God,
the real
no,
story. Yeah.
No.
So I didn't. Yeah. That was my.
Because you were like the new kid also, and you didn't speak the language. I guess that happened in Turkey already, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
was
were
the
the
new
new
kid.
kid.
They called me like fake American. It was also such an issue. I was tall, which is why I love being here. You know.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
I feel the same. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Turkish people are short, and
Middle Eastern people are short. Yeah,
yeah, they're very short.
they're like
Yeah,
with the mountains.
and
yeah.
you're a guy, you know. I was a tall girl, and the guys hated me. They
Because
were
you
just,
towered over them.
they were like, no, 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 we just ignore her, you know.
Second, let me just this. Okay, perfect. It's all good.
Yeah.
So okay,
That was uni,
that was uni, and then it's like very sad. The Nora Jones
and
video. What was so sad about this video? That was like
it was like me sitting alone in my room because I had no friends,
yeah.
and it was like a Saturday, so I really wanted to go out and do things. And, you know, I thought you can only read and write so much. So, like, I'll try painting. And it was just me, like, trying to paint and looking really sad. So that's why I don't really like Nora Jones anymore. The Come Away With Me album is, like, reminds me of that time of my life.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's the power of music.
Yeah.
Creating these neurological pathways.
Yeah.
Then
it's
if you hear
wild.
it, you're like you just think of this sad
Yeah.
girl
Yeah.
in uni.
You go
painting.
right back to that emotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so after that, after the sad.
So after that, I was like, I'm going to leave this country. So I went, my sister applied for a master's degree in Exeter University in England. And I was like, cool, I'll go. You know, I don't know what I want to do. I went there.
So you spent like 5-6 years in Turkey. Only,
In total, I spent 15. But a
15
few
in total,
years I
yeah.
went to England to study.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I kind of wanted to be like a journalist, a lawyer, a writer, but moving to Turkey changed everything because suddenly I wasn't, you know, I couldn't speak correctly. It was a different system. So I had nothing. I had no roadmap. So I did like a social psychology degree, master's. That whole year, I've always been like a straight A student and I did everything right. But when I got to my master's degree, I was like, bring it on. I am just going to enjoy this year, you know? My parents forced me to do a master's now.
So it
and
was like sex, drugs, and study books?
it
or-
was a lot of cider. I never had cider before. And when I got to England, I was like, wow, cider's amazing. A lot of, going out to bars, you know, getting in trouble. I don't know. I got drunk one night and stole a cone off the street. And apparently, like, you can't do that. I woke up and in the living room, there were these cones. Anyway, things like that. You know, things you should do, I think, when you're 22 or 23.
Yeah.
Because I was just taking it way too seriously until then. So that was fun.
But wasn't it like a way for you to cope with all this like loneliness and stuff? Like taking it seriously and thinking that like, okay, if you know, cross all your T's and dot all your I's and then that's it, it's going to give you that like peace of mind.
Yeah, I think it was like I had a lot of time and I had a lot of energy. And, you know, moving to Istanbul suddenly from this tiny little compound where you could walk everywhere. And, you know, in Saudi, you couldn't go to cafes with your friends. So we didn't have that life. And suddenly I was in a big city. And my parents responded to that by like being very strict with us. You have to be home by 7, you know, you can't go there, you know, you can't do this and you can't have a boyfriend until you graduate. They were very strict. So I was like, okay, I'll do the only thing, you know, I'll study and I like school. So it just gave me something to do. And actually to me, I don't know if this is weird, but I find like reading, you know, a sociology book or a philosophy book. Like I found it inspiring. So it gave me something. And thank God I did that because I think it formed a lot of, my philosophy of life and
And the
yeah,
work later that you would do.
and the work later that I would end up doing. So yeah,
Okay, so you're going to England.
I went to England,
You have a woohoo moment.
a woohoo time,
Yeah.
and then, my mom was like, "Come back. What are you going to do there?"
Did they catch up to your like
No, not then.
to your escapades, or was it like
No, I mean, I did move out. So my name is Ezra, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the English name, like Ezra is the guy's name.
Yeah,
So they
absolutely.
put me in a dorm with 5 dudes. So I show up, I'm like, what am I doing here? And I'm like, oh. And because I'm a dude, I'm in the lower floor entrance by the window, which was just creeping me out, and I wasn't sleeping at all. And a friend of mine, Anna, she couldn't find a place to stay. She's still my best friend. She's Portuguese. So she shows up late to school and is like crying in front of the board. Like, what am I going to do? And I said, hey, do you want to move out together with me? Like, I hate my place. She was like, sure. So I told my parents, I don't feel safe here. But then that house for us like became, the ultimate escape from school and the place everyone came over to
yeah.
for, yeah. But no, I don't think they were aware that, I was drinking, going out to clubs, and they always thought I was like the smart, reads her books, buys her magazines, sits in her room kind of person. So
not knowing that you have also a rebellion side in you, that
yeah,
is like being
enough.
pressed also.
Yeah, because when you grow up in this culture of like success, you have to be successful, and in my family, education was such a big thing in Middle Eastern families or some other cultures, right? So you had to be like, for me, there wasn't maybe I won't go to college. I wanted to go to theater school. They didn't let me. They were like, nope, if you come from our family, you need to have a profession. And so I was kind of, I don't know, I had this idea that I wanted to do these creative things, but they're not something you do for money.
Yeah. It cannot be a livelihood thing.
No.
Yeah.
And in Turkey, like, you don't even make money doing creative things. And in order to call yourself an artist, you would have to do something where you make money.
Yeah.
That's how I was taught. Yeah, so what was I saying?
So I'm saying, like, so you had it's the ADD thing.
Here it goes. You're asking me too detailed.
No, but
Yeah.
so that's the thing. So you have that year, you're studying, you have your apartment there, all
Yeah.
hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And then your mom tells you actually to come back to Turkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you come back to Turkey, or you're like rebelling?
Yeah, because by then I was sick of Exeter, and I was like, this place is small, I'm 21. Yeah, let's just move back then. So me and my sister, we moved back. And this was right in 2008, when the big economy
yeah.
crashed.
Yeah.
So there were no jobs in London. I had to go back, and at first I was happy about it, but then I was like, oh no, I'm not sure I did the right thing.
Yeah.
But then I started working. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I got a job in a psychology clinic as an assistant.
In Turkey?
In Turkey.
Yeah.
It was like the first psychology clinic in Turkey. And this head psychologist was like someone I looked up to. And I was like, okay, I'll work as, I don't know what they want from me, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
So
what were you doing?
Well, we were doing a lot of things that anonymously. So he had a lot of ventures. He had a lot of science projects. So I wrote like an academic journal for EMDR. There were a lot of other things going on. We were just preparing things for conferences. At one point, I was dubbing like conference videos because I was like, this looks fun. I'll do it one by one. He would write a column for the newspaper.
But would he see also patients?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But they did this thing where like they weren't allowing us to go in and under supervision. They were like, you can only be an assistant. I don't know. It was a thing. So
because you're a woman, or
no, because they didn't want to raise therapists. They were like, you come help us, but you can't work here and be a therapist. So they really closed that.
Why?
It's I don't know. I don't know why they did that. They had
Shouldn't
some
be like
issue.
a part of like internship. You
Yeah.
do internship, then you open your own practice.
Yeah. But then that way, you're only working on becoming a therapist. They didn't want that.
They
They
don't want
wanted you to work for the organization.
Yeah.
And
Is mental health still a thing that is like considered taboo in Turkish culture, or is it more and more?
I think it's look, it's different for women and men. For men, it's taboo in many places. For women, I think more and more it's becoming accepted. I think they do go to therapy. But yeah, in my culture, in my country, and my mom's a pharmacist, right? You can just go to a pharmacy and you can just buy some antidepressants. You can just get antibiotics. So it's yeah, it's kind of like a doctor mentality. You go, you take a pill, you get better, and if you're going to a psychologist, you're crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
I understand. I mean, I come also from the Middle East. It's been seen as a taboo, especially with the older generation. It's like, what? They're buying yachts and building buildings on top of the
yeah.
misery of others, or something like that. Now, okay, so you're coming back. You're working at this clinic. You're doing all these stuff. What
And
is happening
then
next?
I'm feeling like, what in the hell am I doing here? I don't want to become a therapist. I can't. I didn't do a clinical degree. And I was working 6 days a week, and I would wake up at 6. It would take us 2 hours to drive to the other end of the city, Istanbul traffic. You don't know it till you've experienced your first panic attack in the car because nothing's moving. 2 hours we would drive there. I would work until 6 or 7, but then around 6 p.m. the head psychologist would come in, and you couldn't leave if he came. He wasn't happy about that. And in Turkish work culture, you don't have working times. You just work endlessly. And if you don't, they threaten you, hey, if you're going to leave at 7, we have 10 million other educated people waiting for your job. So that was my first face-to-face contact with reality, real life. And
Sounds like a heavy grind. Heavy grind.
it was, one day I was sitting in traffic, and I remember that was my moment of disillusionment with everything I'd learned. And I was sitting in traffic with my friend now she has a PhD from Columbia. She's amazing. But they were just, we weren't working the things that we could have done. We weren't allowed to really bring anything. And we were sitting in traffic, and I said to her, Jaren, they lied to us. I did everything right. I went to college. I got the best marks. I only focused on school. I did my master's. I got my job. I'm working my butt off. I'm barely getting paid enough. I couldn't cover a rent. It doesn't work like that. I can't buy my own car. And what am I doing here? Someone lied to me, or I believed in some lie, and this is not what I want. So I went back to, the Steve Jobs speech had just come out, and I had watched it over and over. I really like these motivational stuff because I needed it. And he said you can't connect the dots looking back, and you got to do your own thing. You can only connect the dots looking forward. So I thought, okay, he's speaking to me. I'm going to make a jump. What do I do? And I decided I want to try journalism. I wanted to write. I wanted to investigate things. So I quit. And I quit without a plan. I was like, I'm leaving.
That's funny. Quitting without a plan, my favorite.
Yeah. Because I felt like if I go here one more day, my soul is going to be so crushed.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to take me to pick myself up. So it's fine.
Yeah, but that was a trade-off, right? I
Yeah.
mean, in the sense of okay, either maybe you didn't even have any more mental or physical resources to plan even something. You just had to get out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's anything will be better than the situation that I'm in right now. So
Yeah.
let me just end it right now and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Which
And-
actually leaves a lot of room for miracles to happen. Huh? A lot of room.
Yeah, I mean, you're very correct. I always tell my patients, people always come to me when they're in a state of serious crises. Something terrible has happened or they're feeling terrible. And in that moment, I think what makes people feel more terrible is, in Buddhism, it's the difference between pain and suffering. Pain is what happens to you. It's the first arrow you can't. But the suffering part, people try to think their way out of a crisis while they're in the crisis. And the reason why this doesn't work is because when you're feeling low, when you're feeling stressed, your nervous system is on, it's hijacked. It's on alert. And that's exactly when creativity doesn't work. It doesn't work to try and find a solution in the same place, in the same state that got you in trouble in the first place.
Exactly.
So you always have to kind of first, let go of whatever that is, or feel a little better in some way and get out of this rut you're in a little bit. Give yourself that space. And then, as you said, in that silence, in that space, when you're not like over flooding your brain with, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Then something comes up. Then you kind of have an idea.
Yeah, it's the difference between being operated by cortisol or being operated by dopamine.
Yeah.
It's exactly that difference. It's like being operated by dopamine, which it's being really abused right now, but like on a healthy, I'm saying on a healthy way, which is rare.
Yeah.
But on the healthy way, it's really, it almost like the positive feedback that you get is I'm on the right track towards that thing that I want. And the cortisol is more like every track here is threatening me right now. How do I just survive? Or like I'm ready. And it's like, and then there is also this conflation of basically the feedback that we're getting from cortisol is actually positive. We think it's positive because it's active.
Yeah.
Which actually you're just on survival stress.
Right.
Oh,
that's interesting.
But sorry, I was going into my little thoughts.
Yeah, I think another thing about being in a state of panic or like when you want to change something in your life, one thing is your mood. If your mood is low, you're not going to find a way out in that mood. And the problem, again, with thoughts and thinking is that when you're at your low, you generally are more prone to believing the negative thoughts. So they seem real to you. And then wanting to get out of something creates a state of like urgency. You want to get out now. But urgency never works in your favor. And this is how people, get scammed, right? It's the urgency. It's like now, click that now, look here. So
Absolutely.
You're not going to climb out. And then the third thing that we do is ask other people, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? And then it just makes things worse.
Yeah, because everybody projects anyway.
Exactly. Everyone's telling you what they would do in their life. They're not telling you what they should do in your life. So,
and that's another thing that people need to take into consideration. Most advices that are being given to you, they don't carry the responsibility of the outcome. So it's like, I can just tell you like, you should do that with your life. And they're like, whoop, I don't give a shit. Like it ends, my responsibility ends here. Oh, Esra, I think you should do A, B, C, D, E. And then you do A, B, C, D. It's like, hey, look what happened. I'm like, hey, what do I know?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not carrying the responsibility of the outcome.
Yeah, but like, were you always like that? Or do you think after a certain time you realized, wait a minute, like, I'm asking people's their opinion, but I'm not. Did you ever,
I think, well, in my case, I like figures in my life, which I read a lot about projections and, realizing, of course, as a young kid, I would ask for advice and ask for help from, let's say, my seniors and stuff. But then I realized that I need to go and carry that experience by myself and really look at who is the person I'm asking advice from. Did they go through the trenches that I went through, or did they go through other trenches? That's why after I moved to New York and then afterwards I went to the Netherlands, it's like the advice that I would go and seek from my dad, for instance, it became like very limited because he did amazing stuff in his life and he went through a lot of stuff. He also didn't take care of a lot of things in himself that created, just untreated trauma for many, 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 many years. And when you don't do that, you just bleed on everybody, and it just became it became this thing of like, oh, you actually don't know a lot of stuff. Like, you really don't
Mm-hmm.
know. And then to see him also say that, that also changed. I also worked for many years with a master, with Joao master, that I saw him also changing his perception and becoming much more humble. And then you realize at some point, man, no one knows what the fuck they're doing. No one knows anything. Just amygdala,
Yeah.
prefrontal cortex, this like mess of just hormones and running after things, and values are changing every single year. So that's why we should all do drugs. No, okay.
I'm going to interview you now. I flipped it. Sorry, I can't help myself.
No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I mean, I mean,
But it's also this. Sorry, now that it comes up now, you've really poked my ADHD brain.
Yeah.
It's a Buddhist teaching also. When I went on my first silence retreat for 7 days, I went with exactly 5 books, millions of Netflix things on my computer, my phone, and I
Let's
was like,
control.
yeah, sure, silence, violence, I'll find out if I get too bored sitting by myself. Anyway, we got there on the first day, they cut off our internet.
Of course.
They know what they're doing. But anyway,
It was Vipassana retreat, or
this was like a mindfulness teacher training,
okay.
because I'm a mindfulness trainer. And so you have to do these retreats to get your certification. But in the first one that I went to, there was this guy named David, and he'd been a monk for like years, and Christine, she's very sweet, best trainers ever. And there was a Turkish girl, and we do a lot of sharing there. So things come up, people get vulnerable and they cry. And she was talking about something going wrong with her life, and she started crying, and she just suddenly left the room, running, crying. So in my culture, that's my cue to get up and run after her.
Huh. Interesting.
Because we learned, I am you, you are me. It's us, we. And it's also, that's what I learned in my family.
What is your culture, actually, if I may ask? Is it really Turkish, traditional Turkish? Or because considering that you were in Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
for formative years, and then teenage years, brain is developing still, prefrontal cortex is developing, you go to Turkey, and you get a new set of, let's say, values.
Brains.
Yeah, you get a new,
Yeah.
new set of perception.
Yeah.
Like, so what is how would you define your culture in that sense?
I don't know. I don't necessarily feel 100% Turkish. And I don't, obviously, I'm not American, and I've never actually lived in the US, but I feel a bit of mix of it all, I think. I feel a little Turkish, I feel a little Americanized, but then I also now have this kind of other, I guess, identity where it's a mix, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But sorry, but I was pivoting. Pivot? No, but I was pivoting towards you talking about the girl that she was sharing, and then she was crying, and then she left the room. And in your culture, you feel like
You have to go after them.
Yeah, amalgamated with
that's
her,
the Turkish
so, yeah,
culture
yeah.
side of me. I grew up in a very heightened emotions. You know what that's like. I'm going to say Italian.
being unregulated.
Yeah,
Unregulated. it's called.
unregulated. Everyone's, problem
Like,
is everyone's problem.
It's like, we're passionate people. You're unregulated with
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah.
PTSD just compounded.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
And it was a lot of, emotional caretaking. So my first instinct is to run after her. And David was sitting next to me, and I just asked, I wasn't actually asking, I was just informing him that I was going to leave. And I said, David, I'm going to go after my friend. And he just looked at me, and he was like this really short guy and really quiet. And he said, I think you should trust that your friend will find her, balance, feel a little better, and then come back inside. You should trust that. And the fact that he used the word trust, and I thought, oh, okay, I've been doing something wrong. Because in Buddhist culture, you don't lean on each other. You walk side by side. And that was my first, okay, maybe I am doing something wrong here, and maybe some things I need to learn on my own, and some things maybe I need to stop giving so much. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe that's also the thing with trust. You know, you go into a retreat and you want to like, you know, cross all your T's and dot all your I's in the sense of just, I need to know as much as possible. And it's like, but there is a synaptic space of you just not knowing what's going to happen. And that's where the trust is. Like, some people call it faith, some people call it trust. You know, it's whatever. It's all these systems, you know, of just managing our anxiety, you know, managing this like existential
Yeah. Yeah.
fear of like us perishing in 1 second. You know, it's ending, and it's this, and I just think like it's that it requires just such a strong base.
Yeah.
In that sense, to really
Yeah.
trust that things are, because we all have these wounds, you know. Could be that maybe your wound is information. Could be that if you don't know about something enough, I don't know. I'm just getting to know you. No, information. If you think about it, it's like you need to know, because then it gives you security.
That's exactly how I operated for the majority of my life.
And now you're just an idiot.
And now I kind of let things go, you know.
I'm kidding, you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
But okay, so then you had this mindfulness training. You ran after, and he told you about this trust, and then you realized, like, hey, maybe I'm doing something wrong. How does it look afterwards? Like, of course, you're in this bubble of the training.
Yeah.
And you're in this, like, you know, and then coming back to real life. That's like when all the corners are coming at you, like curveballs are coming at you, and it's like you're out of this like little bubble of a retreat, and you're back to reality.
It was difficult, but I went on the training a lot later, so I don't even know why I was telling you that story now. Do we have like a board where we can follow with the arrows?
No, it's fine. I'm the board. No worries.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the thing, that for you, you're just like, okay, you don't know what it is that you want to do, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I was lost.
You were lost.
That's where we were. And I thought, I'm just gonna go and try and work as a journalist. I want to write.
Exactly.
I don't know if I can write in Turkish, but I can try. You know, and then. Oh, sorry. I got a job at a big magazine.
For what? What was the magazine for?
Sorry. It's like, you know, there's this meme like, what I thought and what happened.
Yeah.
In my head, I was gonna be like Aaron Brockovich and solve cold cases and interview like Bill Gates and whatever. Write these like creative things and about life, and I got there, and
then what happened? What was the real?
The reality was the magazine was called Digital Age, so it was the least kind of creative, the most technological. I didn't hate it, but you know, they wanted me to write about the new iPhone, or I was writing about clout and whatever I could find where there was some element of something I could work with. And, you know, I got into writing about entrepreneurship, and I did these things that I was interested in, but people were like looking at me. I was getting paid peanuts. And they were sitting there looking at me, all these other people that went to like, you know, media school, and they hustled, and they were also getting peanuts, and they were looking at me one day, and one of the girls said, "Why are you here? Are you not a psychologist? Like, what are you doing amongst us? You know, we can't find another job, and this is the best we'll get.
Yeah.
But like, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm an editor, you know? This is my dream." And they were like, "Are you sure this is your dream? I mean, you could do so much with your degree, you know?" And that's also the Turkish mentality, is like, you know, it's not a dream away. It's like, do what you have to do to get a good life.
Yeah.
And so it didn't make sense to them. And after a while, I started losing that sense myself.
Wow, I'm seeing a theme here.
Yep.
Seeing a theme. Were you living like a lot in other people's expectations in that sense?
I think
It's a very Levant thing, huh?
Definitely. I think I wanted to like be wonderful and amazing and seen and heard, and but I didn't know exactly where and how.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to do what everyone else did, get a job and find your path.
That's sort of Middle Eastern pathology.
Yeah.
Like really the thing of like, trying to be individuated within a community that is very homogenous, you know. So it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
you're trying to be an individual in a community that is very oppressive in terms of like, this is how we do things,
Yeah.
and you know, this is how it is. But at the same time, there's like this inferiority complex that just creates like, I want to be an individual and everybody sees me, you know. Usually it's connected also to like this monotheistic cultures, because of the projection of divinity into one thing, you know.
Yeah.
So people are trying to, why am I going into this tangent? People are going into like idolization of figures. That's why
Yeah.
celebritism is much bigger in the, like it's considered, it's still like in this like perception of like above society, especially in the Middle East, you know. Celebrities are like
Yeah.
Ubermensch, you
Of
know?
course.
But if you look here, celebrities are just like
Yeah.
just people.
And
know?
there's a bigger gap, I think, in our cultures, you know, like money is everything. And everyone is materialistic, but the
Yeah.
culture kind of gears you to be materialistic. So the more money you make, the better car you drive, you should feel better.
Yeah, and your worth is literally higher than other people.
Exactly. You walk into a cafe in Istanbul or a bar, if you don't know someone, maybe you're not going to get a seat. If you know someone, you're going to get the best seat.
Yeah,
And people know that. So that's what you hustle for.
exactly. And that's
But-
also the difference between like new money and old money in that sense. Like you can see wealth of families, especially like in the Levant or Middle East, is more the network that they have. Like which kind of political influence can they have, and which kind of political influence can they project. And of course, the financial thing is another thing. But here, it feels like I'm saying like Western Europe is more like, okay, which kind of power of buying do you have? Can you actually spend that money? And then that influences contacts.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way.
Yes. It's really old money is more the power within networks.
Yeah, true.
And not necessarily like the power to purchase things. Because at some point with old money, what happens is that the actual, let's say, monetary gain that someone has on net worth is not really being translated into the cash flow, just being translated into power of influence. Anyway, that was my little thing.
So they were like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "What am I doing here?" And I didn't notice I was doing this, but I think I started isolating myself a lot. And I was working in a really big shopping mall, and my house was maybe like a 15-minute drive away, but I was walking home every day, just by myself, and just something was lost. I kind of lost the meaning. Like, what am I doing, you know? I went into this like Steve Jobs, and I'm now just like miserable. And I don't know, I was always very feisty about getting what I wanted, because I had this belief that if you really want something, it's the American dream. See, it's ingrained. I believe in the American dream somehow. And my dad, he's an architect, but he's an entrepreneur. And he always had this like creative, like do whatever you want. And he was always very supportive of that. So he fed my delusion, and my delusion took me nowhere in that moment. So I got very depressed. I didn't realize I was depressed, but I had a panic attack, I guess it was called. Back then, I don't think the psychiatrist I went to didn't know the difference. But there's a difference between having a panic attack and something called like depersonalization. It's when you start to feel like your anxiety is so high that you start to feel like you're either losing your mind or everything is, for me, it was a sense of like, I felt like being in the world. I was on vacation because I was going to die. So I started getting this death anxiety, and I was like, you know, how can you enjoy vacation if you know it's going to be over in 3 days? So I had this weird thing in my head that, and I, you know, the life I was leading, it started to feel, I lost the meaning. And I was just looking around at people as if I was in a bubble, and everyone was just going on their lives. And I was thinking, I can't go on. I've lost something and I'm panicking. So it was very existential. And when I went to a
How
psychiatrist,
long ago was that? When was that?
it was in 2012, I
12.
think. And I remember, so this is one of the reasons I wanted to be a therapist, is because of that experience I went through. And not what I felt. What I felt was scary. But I had, in our family, we have a history of anxiety and depression. And funnily enough, I was 26, I think. Funnily enough, my mom got anxiety when she was 26. So she knew what that was like. And she really helped me, She was like, it's okay, you're not losing your mind. It's fine. I had this weird thing. I couldn't go outside and I couldn't sit indoors. I had agoraphobia, I had claustrophobia. It was just all at once. So, but then I went to a psychiatrist and this guy was just like, he looked at me, and I'd gone to him once before, and he was just like sitting there smoking, just listening to my story. And I'm just trying to tell him how I feel. Like, I feel like nothing is real. I feel like, I'm like in the Matrix and I can't get out. And he's just like, well, you've made some bad life choices before, like, maybe it's because of that. Like, I don't know if he was on a cigarette break or the dude knew I was like, or he understood the situation. But I left that session feeling even more terrified because nobody understood me. He was trying to clinically diagnose me, and I was trying to be seen, Just please tell me as a professional that I am not losing my mind and this will pass. And that's all I needed to hear. He did tell me, your anxiety is up here, girl, and we got to get it down to here. Here's some Xanax, and some antidepressants. There you go. He didn't even listen to what I was saying.
Because he probably needs to get to his quota of pills that he needs to sell from them.
Yeah. So I went home and I took those.
Yeah.
And for
How
me,
does it feel? I mean, I never took one of those. It feels to me like a death sentence.
well, I took Prozac.
Yeah. I saw my brother on Prozac, and it was like talking to a mummy. It was like,
It's bad. The problem with it is, for me, and for some people, maybe it's great. But also my education is, I studied in London, at the University of East London, a very critical psychology approach. So it was very anti-psychiatry. I don't know if you've heard of that movement. It was in the 1960s, 50s. It started where some people, therapists and thinkers, they had enough with people getting stigmatized for feeling not well or not being normal. So this book, The Myth of Normal, I think it was called, I read it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. What is normal? And why are we like blaming people and making them feel bad and whatever? So I didn't believe in medication. I didn't want to be medicated, let's say. So, but when I took it, I felt like I couldn't feel my feelings anymore. I couldn't cry. I felt a bit high and I would laugh and stuff, but I stopped feeling like myself. What it did help with, though, I think, eventually, the passage of time and me finding my way out of what I had dug myself into, which was like, okay, this is not it. What do I do now? So I decided to start a business because I had talked to all these entrepreneurs. Great idea, right? I thought, I'm tall. I can never find shoes. I need an adventure. Like, I need to make something. And I was like, I'm just going to make large size shoes. And I know enough about...
How big is...
I'm size 42 and a half.
42 and a half,
Yeah.
okay.
And in Turkey, you can only find up until size 40.
For women.
For women. So every shoe store we went into, this is another trauma of mine. My mom would go in, hi, do you have size 41? It could also be unisex. She loved saying unisex, and I'd start crying like, I don't want unisex. I'm not wearing those shoes. So I thought, okay, I'll help myself, I'll make shoes. So I just like went to a factory where I heard there were shoemakers, and I just walked in, like my jeans and top, and I was like, hey, I want to make shoes. Can you help me? I was like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm looking for someone. And he was like, what do you do? I was like, I'm a psychologist. I want to make shoes. And he was like,
It sounds so random.
It was random. I literally walked in through a door, and
Yeah.
my dad took me to the factory. He was waiting in the car, and I was like, I'll just go in. And so then he said, you know what? I'm going to make you those shoes. Just, give me 5 designs that you like, and we'll make them. I was like, cool. He's like, we'll just use molds from what we have, because molds are expensive. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So I made shoes, and I made a website. Someone else made it. And I put them all on my website. They were produced. I had my whole... It was called
Wow.
Essonique.
That's cool. That's your creative part coming into play then.
Yeah, and my terrible business ideas also, but...
Yeah, but if you don't try, you never know. That's
Yeah,
the
and
thing.
this was when like online shopping was becoming a thing. So I was like, I kind of want to do this. So I made like 50, 60 pairs of shoes, sold some, but then after I put my shoes there, and I sold a few, and I got the website, I was like, now what do you do? Like, I am the CEO, the CFO, the everything, and I am asking myself, what do you do now? I had no idea. But that experience taught me that you can have good business ideas, you can have good ideas, and you can follow them, and you can execute them great, and you can make them work. But you have to be in love with it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you don't have a mission with it. You know, what am I going to do? I'm just going to sell shoes. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes me, this thing of what you just said makes me think of like, what is on, there's this like flip side of being in love with something is that there is, of course, that side of you just get the positive feedback, everything works, it's like awesome, the honeymoon phase, But being in love with something or someone, in my opinion, is also fully embracing the difficult shit that that person or
Yeah.
that venture, business venture, are holding towards you, or it's going to unfold in the
Yeah.
future, Because if I think about, I'm a musician, I'm a pianist, and it's like, because I love music so much, I didn't quit, but I had more than other opportunity to just quit and just take something that is easier. But this constant like coming back to it, and even when no gigs or bad concerts or whatever it is, still coming back to it, it's a greater force than than logic. It's a
Yeah.
much greater force than logic in that sense. So I think that's what it is, what you're saying. Like if you weren't in love with it still, so you didn't have, maybe I'm assuming you didn't have this like clear path of where it's going. It was just like, okay, I did it. Okay, now what?
Yeah, because I was like, God, entrepreneurs are like, for me, they're they're rock stars. I want to be like them. I want to do what they do. But yeah, carrying an idea, wasn't that a line from the Mexican? If two people love each other very much, when is enough enough? And Brad Pitt is like, never. It's the
Yeah.
one thing he knew,
Yeah.
And it's like what you
Exactly.
said. I think
You're willing to go through, let's say, the entire spectrum of emotions with
Yes.
something, defeat, loss,
Yeah.
grief, indifference, complete infatuation, all these things.
And right, intuitively, like for you never sat and was like, okay, now what am I going to do with my composing? Like,
Yeah,
you
it,
just
it
keep,
was. I had to come out. It had
it's
to come
something
out, yeah.
exactly, and that's what drives you forward. I didn't have that, so I was like, this is not my thing. Okay, I like entrepreneurship, but I'm not. I have to do something else. And in that moment, the smartest thing. This is where my life probably split into two. I'm really wondering what the other character's doing. But this character thought, okay, I've been chasing these dreams and I'm chasing these waves. I don't know where they're going. I'll just go back to the smart thing that my family told me I should do. And I'll do a clinical psychology degree. And I was 28 or
Okay.
27. I'm going to do this again. And then I'm going to become a therapist. I'm going to live a good life, logical, I'll be good at it. And I went to London to study clinical psychology. Yeah.
Okay, and then you get
And-
to London,
and-
and you have to do the bachelor's again, or you have to, or just the
No,
master's?
I already had that.
Yeah.
I did my degree, and then I moved back to Turkey because I couldn't find a job again. I was there for a year and a half. I applied to every single job I could, but I needed a permit, being Turkish. We have a very difficult time. And when I moved back, I was looking for a job. I had just broke up with someone I love dearly. I left the city. I love London. I had to leave it. I was heartbroken. And I went back, and I went back to just, messing around, partying, hanging out with friends, lost, miserable, sleeping on my sister's couch. And that's around when I trigger disclaimer. One day I was just sitting on the couch and I had an itch and I felt a lump in my breast. And right when I thought, okay, now my life is going to start and I'm going to do wonderful things,
cancer.
I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
So that's when I was like, ooh, I'm
So when
not
you
going
thought
to live
bottom is
forever.
there,
Yeah, there's a saying, right? First they pulled the rug and then they pulled the ground and now you're
Wow.
getting somewhere. Like,
Wow.
I had to navigate that. But the good news is that they told me, oh, don't worry, this now happens to everyone. It's like a cold. It's not going to come back. You forget this happened. So I was like, okay.
But while you were having a lump in your
you
breast,
get, like they were saying, you're going to get surgery and some chemo and radiation, whatever, and then you're going to forget. This is not going to come back. It's not an
Okay.
aggressive form. You're fine,
Okay.
So I was like, okay. It was difficult. But then I got, it was done and I was back to life. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? I didn't really give it much thought. I was like, now I can help people because I wore that trauma like a badge because I had this idea that if you didn't suffer in life, you wouldn't be successful or you wouldn't have that much to give. So be careful what you ask for, I guess,
Careful what you wish for. Yeah.
Be careful what you wish
Because
for.
it sounds like there's a lot of suffering on the basic level and also more internal level and exterior level also. There's a lot of
it was difficult.
Yeah.
But then I started working as a therapist here in like a clinic and everything was fine. And then
We're talking about in Turkey.
in Istanbul, I was still
yeah.
there. And then I got a job. And I got a job working next to a psychiatrist. This is an important detail. And he was saying, let's do they were doing an online magazine or something where you could write. So they said, you can write too. And I wrote a few things in Turkish. And I remember this guy, I'm not going to name his name. He's a famous psychiatrist in Turkey. And he didn't say anything to me. And he knew I had just, trying to heal from what I was. But he wrote in the group chat, from now on, Ezra will not be writing for us because she does not possess the capabilities to write on the level and the style.
He did it in public in the WhatsApp
in the
WhatsApp
group chat. No, we didn't have WhatsApp then. In the email thread, with all the other psychologists there. So I was like, okay, I think I'm going to quit here too because something is wrong, and I don't want to get into details.
Fuck
Everything
this
went
guy,
wrong
man.
there. Fuck that. Where let's say fuck.
Yeah, of course.
I got a job in a big hospital as a psychologist. I quit. I blah blah. And the third day, I was supposed to start working. Something was off on my chest. There were I got little bumps, and I went to the doctor, and that's when I found out that the cancer had come back again, but this time on my skin. In the same place, on the skin. And that was a very scary time in my life because I know now looking back, I didn't have cancer trauma. I had doctor trauma because, when you're in the state of panic and anxiety, you really take in every single look, every single word. You try to make sense. But basically they were looking at me, telling me we don't know what's going to happen now because this wasn't supposed to happen. And I said, what does it mean? Well, now we can't just treat you and say it's done. Now this is probably just going to keep coming back. Mm-hmm. And I had just turned 30.
Wow.
Yeah. 31. And I thought, oh no, I think this is the end. I'm not going to make it out of this one. But that point in my life was also where I hit a very big ceiling with regards to my trust in humanity and the medical
life,
field.
yeah, in life. Yeah.
Because you think doctors know everything and they're gods, Thank God they know everything. But then you go in with this thing and they say, we don't know what's going to happen. And that was very, very scary. So when I found that out, my mom was away, everyone was away, it was just me, my boyfriend, and my aunt, and we were in the car. And I got very quiet. I'll never forget this moment. I was looking out the window and she said, what are you thinking? Like, can you talk to me? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? You're not crying? Like, what's happening? And I looked at her and I said, I got this illness 1 year ago, and there were so many things I wanted to do with my life. And I went right back to exactly what I was doing, which was making myself miserable and pursuing something I didn't want to pursue. I didn't do any of the things on my bucket list,
Interesting, huh? How the body taking revenge.
And yeah, exactly.
The body tells
Yeah.
you're
do
not.
this.
Yeah, you can't continue running away from your
No. No.
destiny of you becoming creative or doing your thing. You're gonna go for the safe route. I'm gonna kill you, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going to, I think, die of, it was unhappiness. I was just so lost. So I made a bucket list. And a lot of the things on that list were like, go on TV, write a book, write a TV series, shoot this, make a film. My niece was just born, and she was just 3 months old when it happened. So the second time around, I think I wrote on the list, like, I want to watch my niece do ballet. Yeah. And I got to do that, so I'm very lucky. So I had this list, and I said, okay, what do I do now? And by the way, let's go back to remembering that I just got hired as a psychologist in a hospital, and now I'm depressed.
Wow.
So I can't do my job.
The irony.
So I went to the owner of the hospital, and I said, look, this is what happened to me, and I don't know, what's going to happen. And basically, they just put me on some hormones, and then it was just a waiting game. That's when I got into reading about the science of belief. I had to. I told myself, you're not going to take antidepressants because they're going to numb you. You're not going to drink. You're not going to smoke. You're not going to do anything. You're going to face this, and you're going to find a way out of this through feeling it.
Yeah.
That was difficult. Now I'm like, why did I do that? But I just wanted to face it, whatever that dragon was. And
I don't think you had another choice.
Yeah, I had
think
to
your
go through
choices
it.
were really trickled down to,
Yeah.
roll over and die, or
Find a way out.
Find a way out. Yeah.
So I read this book, and I think it was one of these books that saved my life.
Which one is it?
Mind Over Medicine, as it was called. It
Mind
was
Over Medicine?
Mind Over Medicine.
From who is that?
And basically, I forget her name. It starts with a J. Now I won't remember. But she wrote about how what we call the placebo effect is not the placebo effect. And now we know this. And this field of psychology that looks at the brain and the body is called psychoneuroimmunology. And she was saying it was all these examples of, like, if people are born on a Chinese unlucky day, they're more likely to die early. And doctors hate patients that go into the operating room thinking, I hope I die and I meet my loved one on the other side, because 90% of the time they die. So she was giving all these examples, and she was saying placebo effect is when something doesn't work, but you think it does, so it works. So they give you a pill, they say, this will make your hair fall out. You think it will, and it does. She was saying, no, this is the mind's power. Because if you believe in something, then it happens. It translates somewhere into your physiology.
Absolutely believe in that, yeah.
So I took that, and I was like, this is my lifeline.
And you start believing that you're healthy.
And I
basically.
started looking down at the bumps every day. I was taking a shower. I was like, goodbye, you're going to go away now. Okay, we're going to be fine, la, la, la. And like,
Yeah.
I believe. And that year, actually, National Geographic did their cover story on the science of belief. So
Synchronicity.
yeah, all these things I caught. And that came from one last little thing that was so important. A neurologist looked at my CT reports and he saw me in the, walking around like a shadow. I was so skinny and I was so like nervous and scared. And he said to me, "What's up?" And I said, "Yeah, this is what happened." And he said, "Oh, well, those look like little like bumps, like warts, kind of almost, but they're little bumps." I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "A teacher of ours told us in school, he said, don't quote me on this, but I want to ask you, what's the best way to get rid of warts? The kinds you got on your like finger when you were small or something." And I thought about it. And in my culture, when you get something like that on your finger, my grandmother would pray onto an egg and then she would bury the egg. And she would tell us, okay, it's going to go away by the morning. And it would kind of disappear.
Pray to an egg?
Yeah. You pray.
Okay.
It's like a whole ritual.
Yeah.
Old school. And then you like bury it. And that's basically kind of like sending out the healing, whatever. And you believe it. Like, okay, my grandmother took care of it.
Maybe I can do that with my neighbor. Sorry.
You should try. I don't know if the science of belief will help with the neighbor.
If you're listening, I can't stand you, man. Seriously. The whole neighborhood can't stand you. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so basically he said, like, look, our teacher told us what is the best way to get rid of these things, that there is no, like, pill for or whatever. And someone raised their hand and said, like, praying and burying an egg, And he said, don't quote me, but yes. And basically, the reasoning behind that is that when you believe, the body somehow overcomes something that it can't on its own or with medicine, so then it does. So I took those and I was like, I'm gonna find a way.
I like where this is going, the metaphysical aspect of it.
Yeah,
yes,
of course. But I was too depressed to do my job, so they said, "Oh well, we have this really good plastic surgery department. Why don't you just do some sales for us, sell some, surgery?" And I'm like not the person for that job. Sometimes I look in the mirror, today I did, but sometimes I don't even brush my hair. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm your girl, but I got to work. I got to find something to do. And I went there and I learned everything I could about plastic surgery. So, and
why beautiful people fall into that trap? Why? Did you see Bradley Cooper, for instance?
No. Oh, his face?
Oh my God.
Is it Botox?
Man, he looks like
off,
like an
bloated.
elf. Like he opened his eyelids and this whole thing up, and he was such a beautiful man. And I was like, why?
Yeah.
No, why does it happen? Why does it happen that people get into this like?
I mean, so what I did there was like, okay, how can I bring my profession? So I said, why don't I do like an intake where I look at these people's psychology, and that's the best way to go forward. And then you take them in. And because a lot of the times people that come in for plastic surgery have a lot of mental issues. They have a lot of trauma. There's things not going right in their life. And what's the easiest way? Oh, if I, look better now in this culture of look perfect, then I'll feel better. My problems will be resolved. So I started taking these people into the intake. And to answer your question, a lot of them came up very high in all sorts of things, anxiety, depression, personality disorders, trauma. There was so much. And some would come in with their boyfriends who were paying for them and like, what would you like? And I'm like, girl,
it's your body.
That's your body. What are you doing? And you're so young. And it was wild. But then the moment that I deemed everyone unfit for surgery, they took that department away. They were like, why don't you come over here?
You're bad for business.
It's none of your business how messed up these people are. We're going to put them under the knife,
Listen, she wants to look like Charlie Chaplin. Let her.
Let her.
Pillow face.
Yeah, I mean, see, this is what happens when you try to do good in the world. Like
exactly. When you're righteous. You
they're
can't
like,
be righteous.
get out. We can't make money with you. But I did a good job, selling, I guess, surgery for a while. And then, again, I started to feel a little better. Every day I woke up, I was like, okay, I'm not dying. I'm still here. It's fine, And 6 months later, I went to get another scan and I was clear.
Wow.
They disappeared. They went. And everyone again was shocked. Why did they
Yeah.
come? Why did they go? We don't know.
Because that's the thing. I mean, like, medicine world is so removed from the body, the holistic perception of the body. They're looking at it in a very like mechanic,
Yeah.
like automonteur thing, you know, of
Yeah.
like, this is a symptom. Oh, this is what is happening. Okay, let me just get the symptom, and then maybe it will just battle the cause, you know. I saw my mom just going into a spiral of just pills over pills. She had like Rauma and like a bunch of stuff. She died 11 years ago. But it's like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's like, yeah, when I went back home and I like looked at all the pills, she had like 20 pills or something a day, because one would create this side effect, and then she would take a pill that would counteract this side effect, and she was just like this like pharmacy, you know, because she was under immense stress. Her son got out of rehab, not me, my brother, and she was dealing with a husband that has like severe narcissistic personality disorder, and then she's by herself. She's dealing with all of this, and she can't catch a break. So the body is just collapsing. Then they give her like uppers to keep her up.
Yeah.
And the heart doesn't fall with that.
Yeah.
And they give her downers, and they give it. It's like just
It's a disaster. You're just messing up the natural rhythm of your body, basically. And I think the similar about antidepressants sometimes. It depends on how, people think, oh, you have like low serotonin. No, we can't just like leave the serotonin there and
No.
But yeah.
It's like, if you really look at it, think about it, you have like a shelter box of like your fuses, and you just keep the fuse up.
Yeah.
You're gonna cause a fire.
Yeah.
There's a lack of there's instability in the whole system
Exactly.
that you're a part of.
Yeah.
And it needs to have a fundamental change.
Yeah.
Like what you said, like the power of belief, like starting to believe in that. I'm sure that it projected into any aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Which comes down to this like self-esteem. Self-esteem, and it sounds like very washed up, like new age stuff. The self-love, actually loving who you are and yourself, loving that's it. That's who I am. That's the body I have. That's who I am. This is the thing that I'm dealing with, and loving that for the better and for the worse. It's really hard. It's really hard because we're being just being thrown, like so much information being thrown at us on what is wrong with us.
Yeah.
There's this funny meme of like, okay, I'm going to be a food influencer. It's like then eating something. No, this is wrong. It has this, and no, this is wrong. It ends up like just coming to drink water. No, the water is also wrong. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm just not going to eat anything.
And actually, you're very correct. In that time of my life, because I wanted to be healthy, I went down a very dark path of realizing that a lot of the things I was eating, or a lot of the things that you could find, have something that aren't good for you.
Yeah, processed.
So I stopped eating meat, red meat, because I heard red meat can make cancer. I stopped eating cheese because I heard cheese causes this. I stopped eating everything besides like green leaves and nuts. And
which is not good.
yeah, and I'm now like 68 kilos. I went down to 54.
Oof.
I was tiny, and my mom took me to a specialist.
That
a
is an eating
nutritionist.
disorder, huh?
Yeah,
That is an eating
it
disorder.
was, but it was this fear mongering, and this is on social media.
Yeah.
And the first thing the nutritionist said to me was, "Stop following those healthy Instagram pages."
Yeah.
Recently an influencer died. She was on a fruit diet.
On a fruit. Oh, she was fruitarian.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
and
that's
she died
really
from
bad.
malnutrition.
That's
So.
really bad.
Especially young girls or people with anxiety, it's feeding into that, and like don't eat that. So then I thought, okay, maybe that was something I had to work on, and sometimes I still struggle with living unhealthy, but it's a slippery slope, and as you said, also eating healthy 24 hours is not a balance. And that's what I like about mindfulness. And in that time, I had already discovered mindfulness when I was doing my master's. So I took that philosophy on, and that philosophy eventually, I think, really saved me from a lot of the fear
Yeah.
I had.
In which way? Like what was
So
how was it being expressed?
so in mindfulness, it's sort of about being aware, paying attention consciously to the present moment without judgment. That's how they define it.
Observation, observance.
Yeah, without the judgment, just seeing things unfold. I now, it's kind of like watching the world from your meditation cushion, which is difficult. But Jean Kabat-Zinn, who actually took this philosophy and turned it into these 8-week programs that you might have heard of, MBSR, MBCT, where people learn the essence of mindfulness. In one of the interviews I saw, he said something like, if you're constantly worrying about the future, well, the future's not here. If you're worrying about the past, it's gone. There is the present. And when you think about it, the present right now is eternal if you stay here. And in the present moment, you are fine. And you're alive. And you're living, breathing, kicking. And that's what I held on to, because mindfulness is a lot about teaching you to deal with the uncertainty. And I had a checkup every 3 months. I had nothing but uncertainty. So I was living on the 3-month clock. Every 3 months, I was like, am I going to live? Am I going to die?
Wow.
So I had to make peace with the uncertainty of not knowing. And like you said, I was a very information-driven person. I thought my way through my feelings. I thought my way through my life. And suddenly I was like, I can't think my way out of this.
And it's interesting that your body was just like, look at me. You have to take me into consideration. So I'm going to bring this tumor.
Yeah.
I'm going to basically bring because, and if my sister is listening, correct me if I'm wrong, because she's like top of the food chain, cancer research.
Really?
Yeah. And basically it's it's that thing. Hey, hi. It's that thing basically of the natural process of protein not being able to be flushed out of the body creates like it gets aggregated, and then it creates the tumor. Basically, the dead cells that cannot be just flushed out of the body through the protein through this, and they just get like lumped up.
Yeah.
And that thing just kills you, like eventually.
Yeah.
So it's like such a basic thing of the body. Unnatural processes happening in the body is not working, it's shutting down.
Yeah.
Very interesting, to think about it.
And I also think about it. It's in mindfulness, it's this one thing I really like. It's like, what's the best way to control something? And they always say it's to let it go. That's why, you don't put horses in a tiny place. You put them in big fields. You surround them so they feel like they're free. And I think a large part of my life, I was just trying to control every single aspect. And when things don't work out the way you want them to, you really suffer from that. And you feel like a failure when, you cannot control everything. And things do happen to you. So, I had
Isn't it
to...
interesting? It's like how much, like when you really think about it, like the circle of control that you have is so tiny.
Yeah.
But you try to project it into this humongous thing that is called creation. It's like, if I do this and if I do that and if I do that, then this is what is promised to me at the other end. While there are like just so many curveballs constantly being thrown at you that on a subconscious, unconscious, and conscious level,
Yeah.
You're trying to like just navigate all these things. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, and before it used to upset me and scare me, but don't you find a little bit of comfort in the fact that you can't control everything?
Oh, I love chaos. What are you
Right?
talking about?
I mean,
love
it's
chaos.
just like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think anything is worth, because I guess I've done it both, or it's happened both times, to like ruin your mental health over something, your brain. Your brain is very fragile. And if you keep talking to yourself in a negative way, and when I first got diagnosed with cancer, for me, the feeling was like a policeman showed up at my door and caught me out because I was so hard on myself. Someone was like, hey, something's up now, now you have to reevaluate everything you're doing. So your mind is fragile. You are fragile. And I pay very close attention to how I talk to myself. I don't even I don't do it anymore. Like, oh, I'm so dumb. Like, I don't like saying those things. And when people say it around me, I'm like, don't talk to yourself that way.
Exactly.
Because then you believe it. And secondly, your body. You can't go sleepless nights forever, drink yourself to whatever state you think, and then assume that your body is going to be fine.
It's like, I saw this like really funny sketch of these two girls like speaking to each other, and one is saying like, "Man, I feel so bad. I think it's the moon, or it's Aries, and this." And it's like, you were up for 3 days doing K
Yeah.
and fucked some random guys, so maybe it's that.
Maybe it's the lack of sleep.
Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe your whole system is completely polluted, and
Yeah.
But maybe it's the moon also, and I don't know, Mercury retrograding or whatever.
But it's also not our fault, huh? We do now, I think, live in a culture where it's like hustle, 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 do more, work hard. What was it? Work hard, party harder. What do they call that?
Work hard, play harder.
Lingo.
Yeah.
I hate. But
Yeah, work hard, play harder.
So it's
yeah.
like if you're not, and a lot of my work is like trying to teach people to relax.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the health stuff also don't want to go through that again. And then I just felt like, okay, well, what now? I kind of feel like I need to get out of this hospital. So I thought, a friend of mine was like, hey, I live in Amsterdam and I have a spare room. Do you want to come? You and your boyfriend. My boyfriend and I were not handling the second diagnosis very well because he was just business as usual, and I just felt like I was going to die, and I felt like he didn't understand. So I called him and I said, hey, this room in Amsterdam? Do you mind if I come alone? Like, I need to get out of here. And he said, sure. So I went to the hospital and I said, look, there's 2 things we can do here. One, I'm going to quit and you pay me for the last 2 months and I go to Amsterdam. Or I have a second suggestion. I know English. I'll find my way around Europe. You buy my ticket and pay me to go, and I'll send you some plastic surgery patients. What will it be? And look, I'm saying it with I was dark.
I'm just imagining you like walking down the street like, hey, you look terrible. You know what you need? A nose job.
Yeah. No, I said I'll go and like find some connections and I don't know what I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking there's 2 ways and I'm okay with either, but you tell me. And he looked at me and he said, you're going to go to Amsterdam, aren't you? I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, we're going to send you. And you better send us some people back.
Did you send some people back?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
they
nice.
gave me like a list of people they knew, and I went to like these hairdressers, whatever, and people were there, and I told them about the surgery. They signed up. They went on flights, and I hung out in Amsterdam. And being here at that moment of my time just was amazing.
How long ago was that? When was that?
This was in 2017.
17, okay.
That's when I came.
Right, okay.
And then while I was looking for meaning, the person whose house I was staying in said like, hey, why don't we hang out and date and get married? It didn't happen that quick, but it was pretty quick.
Oh, so you're together, like
I married that guy.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, but like for the visa or like from love?
No, it was love maybe, but in that moment I had this thought like, okay, either I'm gonna go through this on my own, or maybe I could try and have a family. And I grew up with the meaning was you find your soulmate, you get married, and so I thought maybe this is what I'm missing and this is what's going wrong with my life. So I'll just get married. It's something I never wanted to do, but I'll try it. And I want to try anything once and I might be gone soon. So I'll just, it took a year for me to get to this place, but then we got married. And very shortly after I started feeling very miserable. He was also Turkish and I felt like I had to step into these traditional roles and I did. I went into it like, where's my, my pots, my pans, where's the cleaning stuff? And I was like full-time wife. I was like, I don't want to work. I'm just going to be this perfect wife for you.
You can get the girl out of Turkey, but not the turkey out of the girl, huh?
They brainwashed me into thinking that's what was wrong with my life. I will stand by that.
You need that pot. You will feel complete. with a pot.
But
yes.
didn't you grow up with this idea that like you have to find your soulmate, or you should, and it will be better somehow?
I come from an insane family.
Okay.
No, I come from a crazy family.
yeah?
My dad is an ex-Navy SEAL and like a Secret Service agent. No.
Probably not then. Not in the cards.
No, they were like future leaders of whatever, but it's no. I grew up in, of course, like education was, everybody has a PhD in my family.
Yeah.
It's like this, the minimum
Of course.
entry level, you need PhD. But no, very problematic with relationships, problematic with this. I mean, look, when you grow up with a dad that is basically a professional interrogator of terrorists and stuff, and it's like,
oh God,
he just like everything was like, I give you a piece of information, I give you a piece of information, and then I see if it crosses, and then I know who I can trust. It's fucked up. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was not my experience. I grew up
Dropping.
I grew up with a happy married couple. I
Yeah.
thought, but then things went south there too. But so I thought maybe I just do that, and the marriage no.
But then it dissolved, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it started dissolving, and I wanted to save the marriage, and I thought maybe I should have children or whatever, or.
Oh no.
But it was.
Did you have kids?
No,
Oh, okay.
it was not a
Oh my god! Thank God.
drum roll.
No, I'm
Did she have kids? No,
yeah,
I mean
I have two kids. That's
Yeah?
why. And one is like came from we should not be together. And I mean the kid. Don't get me wrong. He's my boy. I love him. Everything. It's just his mom. I'm like, how did it ever happen?
Sorry.
25-year-old. Yeah. No, but there's always corrective experience. But yeah, so you thought you need to have kids? And
I mean, I was like, well, what can I do? And I think I felt blamed a lot for not being happy with my role. And I didn't feel seen, and I didn't feel understood, and I felt emotionally very lonely. And so I was just alone a lot and miserable a lot and trying to find my way out. And that's when I actually was right after the retreat. When I went on that silence retreat, it was one of the things that came to me in the silence. It was just this weird thought, oh, maybe you shouldn't be married. And then I thought, why did I think that? And 3 years later, I came to, oh, wait a minute. I started an Instagram then to just write about mindfulness. I loved it. And I was like, I'll just give people this information, But soon when I started to get miserable, I turned to writing then to help me make sense of what was happening. And it was one of the things that I had, asked my then partner, hey, in the 5 years we've been together, have you ever seen me very happy? Mm-hmm. Or do I just always look miserable to you, And he said, no, you're just a depressive person.
He just told you that?
And I believed it. And he was
Wow.
like, instead of telling me about this stuff, why don't you just go and write about it? I'm not really interested. It's not my thing. I'm not a deep person. And I said, okay, maybe he's trying to help me, and I'll just go write about my depression. So I started writing, and it helped me. It was the first time I wrote things that people could see. Up until then, it was just very me, private. But I think I just felt I was in so much pain, and I didn't know what to do. And it was a sort of relationship where from the outside, you would think these people are very happy and this person is in love with this person. But behind closed doors, it was very different. So I couldn't explain to people why I needed to get out. And when I told my family, I wasn't happy. I wasn't giving them much details, but they said, yeah, sure, just move back here. And, because I wasn't working and barely just started. So I thought, okay, I need a way out, and I need to do it on my own. And I need to start working, and I need to get exposure, and maybe, I don't know, do these things, be a therapist. So I started working online and writing, and I was miserable. And I was still trying to help people, and I was doing therapy, and no one knew, but I felt like death.
Oh my God. It's
And I had
like
to
a
carry,
double life.
yeah, it
Right?
was a double
Yeah.
life. I was just sitting there like, and then between sessions, I was just in tears. I was on the floor.
Oh my God.
And so right around then, I thought, okay, maybe I can save this marriage. Just one last try, and maybe I can have kids. And so I stopped taking my medication. And my anti-cancer hormones.
Anti-cancer
I
hormones.
stopped taking them.
I thought it was like conception, anti-conception
No,
pills.
no,
Okay.
but it is kind of. It kind of shuts down your certain systems. Anyway, so I stopped taking that, and then my cancer came back, and then I found out I got a phone call saying like your grandmother died, and it was all happening in the same week, and this person hated me. There's no way he was going to come with me to the funeral.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't know if I can come. Like I'm not feeling great, and this, that, and we have to move, and all these things.
This person, you mean your partner?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like he wasn't. We were not in the place where he was going to support me. He was just. It was a lot of anger. And then I said, I don't know if I can come, but I'll try. So I went, and my grandmother and my grandfather were the top of the family. My grandfather was a general in the army. I was very close with him, and my grandmother, second mother, you know. And while we were at my grandmother's funeral, we get a phone call that my grandfather died. So they both had COVID, but my grandfather was recovering, and we didn't tell him that she had died. So it's a love story.
Oh.
And the last thing he said was, "She's gone, isn't she? You know, pack up my things." And then he was gone.
Wow.
And so
How long were they together?
since they were like 15. So
It's like 100 years.
they
yeah.
died at like 88 and 92.
Wow.
So that was very difficult, and I'd never lost a grandparent I was close to or anyone that close. So I flew back to Amsterdam, and somehow there was a fight on the plane, and it was my fault. And so I came back in pieces, and so I thought, what do I do now? You know, my health has gone, my family's this, and I was just sitting. I was living on Marnixkade then. I will never forget that sofa. I just sat there, and that's grief for you. With grief, you know, everything just gets very quiet, but also very heavy. And I was just looking out the window, and I would put on, you know, Succession, the main theme.
It's the story of my family, yes.
That's
That's why I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch
Yeah?
it because I'm just looking at my family and
Oh, I'm sorry. But the song there is a bit like, it's dramatic, but it gave me something. And I would just sit there and I'd look out the window. Okay, what do I do now? How do I get out? How do I get out of this? How do I get out of that? How do I feel anything again? And that's when I started writing. I changed something. I took my Instagram and I said, you know, from the beginning, I've been trying to give people information. What is mindfulness and what you should do? And like, that's not who I am. I want to share the real stuff of life, the pain, the loss, the grief that I'm feeling, and I want to make sense of it. And I don't want to be invisible anymore. I want people to see me as who I am.
Yeah.
So I started writing, and I needed to get out of a bad marriage, and I needed hope. I didn't have hope. I had nothing. And I thought, you know, if I can find hope through writing, and maybe I'm going to help myself. And people just instantly just responded to that. They started commenting. They started sharing. Like thousands of people came to my page. And I was like, wow, I'm doing something right. And so during the day, I was just, you know, going around.
It's reciprocation.
Yeah. I was just going around life feeling miserable and then, or angry or something was happening. And then I was like, I'm going to write about this. And so I just started writing, you know. When in doubt, you know, get out. When in doubt, be a bitch. When in doubt, whatever. Like trying to tell myself. And people thought like, oh, this girl is wise. No, I'm falling apart.
That's the beautiful curated social media to you.
Yeah.
But he's like, man, you're killing her. It's like, I want to kill myself. I don't want to
I'm
kill
in
me.
trouble. I'm trying to help
Exactly.
myself. But it's wild. And I realized that, you know, you can have a different education. You can come from a different country, whatever. But the human experience itself is so unifying. And if you speak from your experience, then everyone can respond because everyone knows loss and love and grief and heartbreak and things falling apart. And that's where I was writing from. And I wasn't sugarcoating it. I was saying things like, you can be a psychologist, you can be a teacher, you cannot get away from the heartache, and you are going to mess up. And that's what happened to me, I was sitting on a sofa waiting for a husband to come home, and he was out partying, and he didn't, it was not there. So
Was he aware of your writings, and was he following it also?
Yeah, I think he was aware and following. I don't know if he really paid attention to it or understood it. He wasn't interested.
Now? Are you in good terms?
No, we're not. So, yeah. I don't want to say a lot about him or badmouth him, but for me, that marriage was a very bad experience. That's all I can say. So, yeah, and that's what happened with, the writing helped me. I think it helped other people, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful that I took that chance and said, this is my only chance, and this is how I'm going to tell people about my pain. And then I got a book deal.
Awesome. Wow, great.
And it was the publishers asked someone to write a book, and this girl who follows me and I follow her, who's also a psychologist, she does artsy stuff, said like, hey, I'm not interested in writing a book, but there's this girl I follow. I think she might be good. And they brought it to me, and the publisher was like, we've never heard that before. Someone like giving, and I said, I haven't either. Like, yeah, thank you, I never got a chance to thank her. I thought once I finished my book.
We can thank her here.
Yeah, I think she's amazing. What an amazing person. No one would do this, She doesn't know me. And she probably didn't know that, that was my lifeline. Yeah. There's a little short poem by, I think, William Stafford, and it's called The Way It Is. And it goes like this, and I always read this in my mindfulness groups, and it's what writing was for me, but it says, there's a thread you follow, it goes amongst things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder what you're following. You have to explain the thread, but they have a hard time understanding it. If you hold it, you'll never get lost. Tragedies will happen, people will die, and you'll get old and suffer, but you don't ever let go of the thread. And, for me, that's what it was. And I think for a lot of us, that creative outlet can be that thing we follow. Yeah.
Wow, it's great. What a beautiful moment to finish this beautiful podcast. Thank you so much, Esra. Really.
You're welcome.
Thank you for spilling your heart out and being so vulnerable and telling your story. I appreciate it. I learned a lot. Is there anything else you would like to plug or say to the camera?
No, I think I've said
Follow
so
your
much.
dreams. But no, I mean,
Follow your dreams.
no, there's the funny one, like, don't stop chasing your dreams, keep on sleeping.
Oh, nice one. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. And Joao, thank you so much. Also, the producer, yes, Esra, thank you so much
Thank you.
for doing this podcast. You, there, at home, I can see you. You're listening to the podcast. I know. Did you know that 95% of you are not registered? They're not. You haven't clicked on this little button, of, abonné, how they say it. So we're growing a community here. You want to be a part of it? If you want to be a part of it, come, like, subscribe, share, comment. You can be hateful sometimes. We don't respond to the hateful ones. We respond to the loving ones. But, everybody's welcome. We're very inclusive also for the people that are exclusive. Does it actually mean?
It sounded good.
Yeah, we're inclusive we're inclusive to the people that hate us also. Anyway, thank you so much, and we will see you at the next one.